Hi, I just wanted to say two things. First, this video is full of spoilers for the movie Joker, which should not be a huge surprise since this video is about the movie Joker, but still I figured it was worth saying. Second, at the end of this video, I'm going to talk about a couple things that are important to me, so even if you don't usually watch the entire video, I'd really appreciate it if you did this time. Okay. Before we get started, I've got to give Joker some credit. Joaquin Phoenix did a phenomenal job with Arthur. From the voice, to the mannerisms, to the laugh, he completely sold the character and deserves all of the praise he is getting. Hildur Guðnadóttir's score was also amazing, and finally the production design and cinematography did that thing that all good Batman movies need to do. They made Gotham City into a character. It seems like a cliche, but it is legitimately very important, especially in this movie, and I think Joker handled Gotham City very well. With all that being said, I had quite a few problems with Joker, almost all of which stemmed from what I would argue was a pretty shallow script. Joker takes swings at some complicated topics, but I think it misses almost all of them. From mental health to corruption to society, I think Joker raises many issues that it is not prepared to adequately address. And maybe my biggest individual issue with Joker concerns Arthur himself. He holds extreme views, which he uses to justify his actions, which would usually be a good thing. I want a protagonist with strong beliefs, like Batman, and especially if the protagonist is an anti-hero, like how Han believes you gotta look out for yourself, or even a villain, like how Thanos holds some pretty strong beliefs about the universe and balance. It is not a problem that Arthur believes that the rich and powerful are making life worse for the rest of us, and it is not a problem that he takes that belief to the extreme and uses that belief to justify murder and inciting a riot. That's good. Like, it isn't a good way for a real person to act, but it's good that Arthur has that reaction because it raises interesting questions. However, I believe Joker fails when it comes to doing anything interesting with those questions. It feels content with saying that people are bad and Arthur is bad and maybe he's right. Who knows? Who cares? Joker doesn't spend much time examining Arthur's beliefs critically. Outside of Murray at the very end of the movie, very briefly, no one stands up to Arthur, challenges his beliefs. And I'm not saying that every movie needs to be a debate where opposing views are presented and a winner is decided, but it does make the story pretty flat if the protagonist does not meet with any real opposition, no ideological foil. It feels shallow. Like, let's look at Murray's exchange with Arthur for 1 second. The most complete attempt Joker makes at calling Arthur out. Murray says, "Are you finished? I mean, it's so much self-pity, Arthur. It sounds like you're making excuses for killing those young men. Not everybody, and I'll tell you this, not everybody is awful." My De Niro's pretty great. That's a good point, and I wish one Joker spent more time with. It could be said that Arthur is using self-pity as an excuse to act without consequences. However, Murray is the wrong messenger to deliver that message. And this is where Joker's shallowness becomes an issue, because in Joker, everyone is awful, like cartoonishly awful. The woman on the bus is rude to Arthur, even though he's just trying to make the kid laugh. Arthur's social worker doesn't listen to him. Those kids steal Arthur's sign and beat him up for seemingly no reason. Arthur's boss blames Arthur for what happened to the sign, even though why would Arthur steal a going out of business sign? Arthur's coworker lies about giving Arthur the gun. Thomas Wayne is a jerk. He hits Arthur and possibly lies about being Arthur's father. Murray makes fun of Arthur, an aspiring stand-up comedian at an open mic who clearly has some sort of mental health or neurological issues on national television. And Arthur's mom may have lied to Arthur about his father. And on top of all of that, and I know how dumb this sounds, but society seems to have left Arthur behind. The mental health program is shut down, there's a garbage strike, super rats, an out-of-touch plutocrat is running for mayor, and the citizens of Gotham have become a violent mob. Everyone is awful, and that gives Joker an excuse not to question Arthur's beliefs. It's too simple. An interesting movie would feature a more complex society. And it's easy to compare Joker to the two movies that it's clearly borrowing a lot of its themes and visuals and actors from, Taxi Driver and The King of Comedy, both Scorsese masterpieces about an out-of-touch loner and society. However, I think both of those movies do something very specific that Joker does not. Something that helps to explore the beliefs of the protagonists, their values, and challenges them in an interesting way. So that brings me to my one small change. I believe Joker could easily introduce a character who is not awful. Doesn't have to be perfect, just someone that can call him on his BS. We can use that character to learn more about Arthur and society, get a more nuanced view on all of the themes of the movie. In Taxi Driver, this character is Betsy, played by Sybil Shepherd, the Palatine campaign worker who Travis courts, goes on a date with, and then embarrasses himself in front of. Taxi Driver is about this dirty, disgusting version of New York that Travis hates and wants to clean up. And that belief isn't necessarily held by Betsy, but she is also working for a politician who wants to make changes. So she represents the idea of change. And her and Travis get along until she exposes the contradiction at the heart of Travis. He thinks New York is a dirty, disgusting mess that he also participates in. He takes her to the pornographic movie theater on a date, and that highlights the fact that Travis takes part in this system that he believes needs to be destroyed. That's why he can't go on a date with and have a normal relationship with Betsy. It's the internal contradiction of Travis Bickle, and you can only get at that with a character like Betsy, who exists outside of that world and can highlight Travis's contradiction. The same can be said of Diane Abbott's Rita Keene in The King of Comedy. In The King of Comedy, Robert De Niro plays Rupert Pumpkin, an aspiring stand-up comedian who is obsessed with talk show host Jerry Langford and wants to be on his show. And Rupert both desperately wants to be a stand-up comedian, but does not want to do the work necessary to be a stand-up comedian. He's very determined when it comes to things like sitting in offices and making sure people get tapes, but he's not determined when it comes to working in comedy clubs and getting there the way all of the rest of the comedians do. He instead likes to pretend he's already a part of that world, and that's where Diane Abbott's Rita comes in. An old friend from high school who Rupert goes on a date with, and during the date he lies to her about being friends with Jerry. Where a character like Sandra Bernhard's Masha exists within this deluded, celebrity-obsessed world, Rita exists outside of it, and when Rupert does something pretty bizarre, like goes to Jerry Langford's house unannounced, Rita's able to call out how strange that is. She is a necessary reality check, who can call Rupert on his contradiction. So if I could make one small change to Joker, I would introduce a character into the movie. Well, that's not exactly right. I would not unintroduce a character. Sophie, played by Zazie Beetz, would not spend most of the movie as a hallucination. She would be actually dating Arthur. For those who don't remember, or people who haven't seen Joker but don't care, Sophie is a seemingly single mother who lives in Arthur's building. After a brief, friendly interaction, Arthur follows Sophie to her job at the bank, then she shows up unannounced at Arthur's apartment, is remarkably cool with being stalked, goes with Arthur to his open mic night, goes on another date with Arthur, meets Arthur at the hospital, and even does other things. But then, Arthur goes to Sophie's apartment, and it is revealed that Arthur was imagining their interactions. The nice girl didn't actually like him. Cue dumb flashback. Then maybe he kills her, who knows. It's an incredibly dumb moment, because Joker trades an interesting character, who also happens to be one of two female main characters, and the single main character of color, for a lame reveal. It is both not worth it and not particularly effective. So I'm going to walk you through how making Sophie not a hallucination would address quite a few of Joker's issues, and give you an idea of what this alternate version of Joker would look like. So you have to start with the meet cute. First thing, we need to slightly change the first encounter between Sophie and Arthur. Since they are actually going to be dating, there needs to be some connection. Arthur needs to demonstrate his value to Sophie, show her that he can be a good guy, give her a reason to like him besides just holding an elevator. I think this one's easy. Arthur can use his clown talents to cheer up Sophie's kid. He's good with kids, he does seem to be a genuinely good clown, so Arthur makes the kid smile, and brimming with confidence, Arthur asks Sophie out to dinner. She accepts. First date, Arthur takes Sophie to a comedy club, but in this version, he is not performing. They are just there to see a comedian, who is, in this case, Gary Goldman, a comedian I love and have been following since the last Comic Standing days. His HBO special, The Great Depression, is so funny. End of non-plug. And it's a good date. Like in real life, with the right comedian, a comedy club can be a great first date. And especially for Arthur, because this is where he spends a lot of his time, people know him. And Arthur shares his dream of being a comedian with Sophie, and she's encouraging. Maybe he can do it someday. Now there's a balance. Arthur's fired, things around him are going poorly, but Sophie's giving Arthur some hope. Now second date. I like the idea of Sophie going to the open mic with Arthur. Maybe he bombs in the beginning, but not quite as badly. It goes fine. And Sophie's supportive, he just needs practice, and Arthur kinda gets that. He's doing okay. But then, we get the Thomas Wayne revelation. And before Arthur confronts his mom, he tells Sophie. And Sophie tells him to drop it. Take it from a single mother, no good will come of this. Sophie brings perspective to Arthur. He needs to move forward. But Arthur lies, he can't help himself. He tells his mother, she ends up in the hospital. And while Arthur is in the hospital, Arthur's video shows up on the Murray Franklin show. And not to nitpick, not unlike my podcast, Mostly Nitpicking, please subscribe. This isn't a viral video kind of situation. I don't think viral videos were a thing in the early 80s. I don't even kind of understand how that happened at all. Let's have Sophie have submitted the tape from the open mic. Maybe Murray has some sort of contest for aspiring stand-up comedians where if you send their video in and they do well, Murray will have them on the show. She sees Arthur's set and she's like, oh, maybe this is good enough. So she secretly sends this tape to Murray Franklin. It seems like a nice thing, and it just seems more plausible. But Arthur sees his video on the show, and he's made a fool of. So he blames Sophie. And they can get in a fight, and she leaves. And then Arthur goes and confronts Thomas Wayne. He's spinning out of control. Thomas tells Arthur that his mom was crazy. This makes Arthur feel even worse. Also, let's have some people recognize Arthur on the street from the Murray Franklin show and make fun of him. Show that there are some consequences to him being on TV. But then, Arthur gets a call from the Murray Franklin show and learns that Murray wants to have him on. This is huge, what an opportunity. This will be the first kiss between Arthur and Sophie. Sophie and Arthur work together on new material. It's good stuff. Arthur's happy. But then, Arthur finds the picture with Thomas Wayne on it. So Arthur continues to investigate his mom. He learns that she was committed to the asylum, but he blames Thomas Wayne. Wayne must have institutionalized Arthur's mother to keep the secret. And Arthur becomes even more obsessed with Thomas. He writes jokes about killing Thomas, and Arthur extrapolates that out and blames society for everything that happened to his mother and him. Then Arthur goes to Wayne Manor, he acts weird around Bruce and Alfred, and Arthur comes home, and we get this big confrontation between Sophie and Arthur. Arthur walks into the apartment, finds Sophie holding the joke book. What the hell is this? Where'd you find that? Oh, I had an idea I wanted to write down, but what does Thomas Wayne get when he crosses a society full of people he treats like trash? He gets what he deserves? That's not... Knock knock. It's the police, Mrs. Wayne. Your husband Thomas was killed by a drunk driver. Thomas Wayne took everything from my family. And you have a chance to start over, to be something, and you're gonna throw it all away. I will never be anything because of him. Blame Thomas Wayne. Blame society. Blame the rats. Blame me. You don't understand what it's like to be abandoned, to be on your own. Get so much self-pity, but it's just an excuse for you to do whatever you want. You're so selfish. And then Sophie leaves. That's all we need. Joker never examines this point of view. Arthur definitely has problems. He's alone. He's broke. Has some sort of serious neurological, general mental health issues. But, I mean, black single mother in the 80s. In the era of the welfare queen, that's not easy. Sophie is truly marginalized. The kind of person that society really leaves behind. But Sophie has a child to take care of, so she can't just pity herself. Joker's about a lot of things. Mental illness, society, guns. Like, if Joker's about anything, it's a movie about a desperate loner who is given a gun and immediately becomes a violent murderer. It's too much to talk about now, but look up The Trigger Pulls the Finger. It gives Joker a new meaning that I don't hear discussed nearly enough. But at its core, Joker is about a man who cannot move forward because he believes he is a victim. Taxi Driver and King of Comedy worked where Joker didn't because they were able to take their protagonist to task. Call him on his contradiction, because both characters are contradictions. Travis Bickle hates the ugliness in New York City, but he also participates in it. Rupert wants to be famous without doing any of the work. He's determined yet entitled. Arthur is the same kind of guy, albeit a little more clumsily. He wants to be popular and loved, like Rupert, as evidenced by the fantasy, but he doesn't want to do stand-up. Arthur just wants attention, but he doesn't actually want it. Because when Arthur gets the opportunity, the chance to be on national TV, he doesn't see it as an opportunity. He sees it as a problem. Yeah, Murray's a jerk to Arthur, but Arthur is still a wannabe stand-up comedian who's about to go on a national talk show. Arthur and the movie never consider the fact that this could be a huge win for Arthur. Arthur immediately decides that this is a bad thing. His life is over. And yeah, Arthur did murder those guys on the train, but the police don't seem to have that much on him. Arthur could either just ignore the police and hope he doesn't get convicted, or he could explain his situation, claim self-defense, which it's kind of true, except for that third guy, but hey, maybe just say that you were fighting with them or something. Listen, I'm not suggesting that Arthur should lie or anything like that to the police, but he does have options. This doesn't need to be the end of his life. We need a character to give Arthur that perspective. Present him with a choice. Use his appearance to get revenge on someone who wronged him in the past, or ignore that and use the appearance to get a better future. Arthur chooses the past, and that sends him down a self-destructive path that ends with him murdering a talk show host and maybe inciting a riot, although it's unclear how much of a part of that Arthur actually played. Seems like the riots were going to happen with or without him. But there was an alternative that Sophie was perfectly positioned to present. An alternative that would call Joker out, that would take a stand against his self-pity. And the self-pity of that loner-type character that Taxi Driver and King of Comedy and now Joker use to justify their actions. Unfortunately, every single character in Joker was either mean to Arthur or lying to him. There was no one to present this alternative. And instead of using Sophie to present the opposing viewpoint and introduce gray area into an otherwise black and white story, Joker wastes Sophie on a surface-level Fight Club-style twist that was honestly pretty transparent from the beginning. Oh, and one more thing. If you've been watching videos on this channel for a while, you're probably familiar with this video sponsor, CuriosityStream. CuriosityStream is a terrific streaming service. They have thousands of documentaries and nonfiction titles about anything from balls to katanas to squirrels. Those are three that I've talked about in the past. A subscription to CuriosityStream is a terrific deal. It's just $2.99 a month or $19.99 for a year. And if you can believe me, that deal's about to get better. Because now, when you subscribe to CuriosityStream at the link curiositystream.com/Nando, Nando, you also get a subscription to something called Nebula. Nebula is a new subscription streaming service created by a bunch of independent creators, some of which you definitely already know, like Wendover Productions, or CGP Grey, or Kutzgazart, or Patrick Willems, or Kento Bento, or me. Here's how it works. First, all of my new videos are uploaded to Nebula ad-free. But second, we're able to work on other stuff. Like, for instance, there's a collaborative project that's ongoing called Working Titles, where a bunch of us creators have gotten together and we've each picked a television show with a title sequence that we find interesting. And then, in the videos, we talk about why that title sequence is cool. For instance, Polyphonic did an episode on Game of Thrones, Patrick Willems did an episode on the 90s X-Men animated series, Just Right did an episode on the Batman animated series, and I'll also be producing a video for this series where I talk about one of my favorite television shows of the last 10 years that also happens to have one of the most exciting title sequences in the history of television. Here's a clue about which show I'm talking about. So, that one. Basically, Nebula is a sandbox where creators are free to experiment. We can make cool new videos and series that don't have to cater to YouTube's algorithm, stuff like that. And right now, if you go to curiositystream.com/Nando and sign up for CuriosityStream, You will also get access to Nebula for as long as you're subscried to Curiosity Stream. And on top of that, if you go to that link and you sign up, you get 30 days for free. It is a win, 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 win. So Nebula is one of the things that's really important to me. Here's the other one. If you're watching this video before November 2nd, 2019, on November 2nd, 2019, I will be participating in an Extra Life charity stream. If you're not familiar with Extra Life, it's a gaming marathon where gamers, video, and board get together and play games and stream the games and raise money for some charity. This is the first year I'm going to officially be part of a team. This team is full of awesome friends of mine, including my Mostly Nitpicking co-host, DJ Chapman. For those who don't know, Mostly Nitpicking is a podcast where every week I pick apart a piece of pop culture. DJ is the co-host, and he's been doing this for a lot longer than I have, but I've usually been showing up on his streams. But this is the first time where you can donate specifically to me within this campaign. And all of the donations go to the local Children's Miracle Network Hospital. It's a really, really great cause. And I won't be there for the entire stream, but you can donate now and you can donate throughout the stream. And we'll be playing games during the stream. If you've ever wanted to see me be a very, very clever goose, that'll probably happen. We'll probably play the Jackbox games. And if people donate certain amounts of money, maybe we'll do other stuff too. I know DJ's planning to eat an onion, but we'll do normal things. Like maybe if you donate a certain amount of money, we will let you pick an episode of Mostly Nitpicking that we will do in the future. So stuff like that. Trust me, it's going to be so much fun. Jump into the stream if you can for a minute or two. Donate if you can. I'm going to put all the information you need in the description for this video. It'll be on my Twitch, twitch.tv/NandoVMovies. You can find me on Twitter at NandoVMovies. I know DJ at Zippy by Day and the Most of the Nitpicking account at NitpickingPod. We will all be tweeting about it, so it is very easy to find us. If you can, we'd love it if you join us. It's November 2nd. And as always, I have to thank the patrons. You guys are amazing. I know I say this every week and it might sound robotic because I say the same thing every week, but you have no idea how much I appreciate your support. You help keep the lights on. I don't think I could have done this and keep doing videos without the support from you guys. So if you've ever thought about it, throw in $1, any amount of money. You get to see the videos early. You get to get your name in the credits here. It's so cool, and I appreciate it like crazy. Patreon.com/NandoVMovies. And the podcast, Mostly Nitpicking. Every week we pick apart a piece of pop culture by looking exclusively at the details. We've done Joker. We did every Batman movie that had the Joker in it. We are just getting into the season where a lot of fun movies are going to come out. So the Terminator movie, Frozen, Star Wars, all that stuff is on the docket. It's a lot of fun. We are at NitpickingPod on Twitter, like I said before. And last thing, follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/NandoVMovies. I'm also NandoVMovies on Instagram. It's where I post updates on videos and podcasts, and where I post pictures of my cats, and it's where I post pictures of my Halloween costume, which I was very proud of this year. That's all I got. I'll see you next time.